On the top of the green line on the wall.
Small truck, I can barely see.
Blacked out the middle.
Got it?
There you go.
Before we rise for the pledge and our moment of silence, I'm just going to have Mrs. Volpe read something.
Today, the Sachem family was deeply saddened to learn of the passing of the New York State PTA President, Lori Zeman. Tonight, I'd like to dedicate our moment of silence in her honor. Lori was truly the definition of child advocate. This loss is felt deeply by the Sachem family, as so many of our own served alongside of Lori. We offer our condolences to her family and the entire New York State PTA.
If everyone would please rise for the pledge and then remain standing for a moment.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. To start tonight's meeting, we are going to officially swear in Dr. Pelletier. Raise your right hand. I, Christopher J. Pelletier,
I, Christopher J. Pelletier,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and I will faithfully discharge
the duties of Superintendent of Schools
the duties of Superintendent of Schools
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Welcome aboard. You're ours.
Yeah, I said I would be back tomorrow, so I guess
To start also tonight, we're going to continue our discussion about school reopening. I know there are still a lot of questions floating around. One of the first questions that I have is about the color coding on the portal. I know that we've had a ton of meetings and we haven't had a chance to really discuss those colors that kind of came out of nowhere. It was a bit of a curveball, so if we can just kind of elaborate exactly what the colors were for secondary and elementary school, that would be tremendous.
John, we had talked a little bit about this in terms of the orange and the blue. Yeah, could you elaborate, please, first? Patty. Thank you.
So that there's two cohorts. There's an AC cohort that is blue and a BD cohort that is orange. and that is for the secondary. Elementary should not have had any of the color coding on their parent portal, and that was removed this morning. So the cohorts are just for secondary, and that's just to allow the scheduling to take place so the students know that they're not just, the reason it's AC is because if a student was just an A student, then they would only be going to that one elective every single time they were in school. By making it an AC alternating thing, then they will see the opposite elective when they're in. So every week they'll be in, either if it's, an example would be PE and lab, they'll be in PE one day that week and lab the other. It's almost, and this might sound more confusing, an A schedule, B schedule, B schedule, BB schedule. So it's easier to explain and show, and we are going to be given examples of that.
Thank you very much.
Can you maybe put a sample of that, what it would look like up in like black and white so people could see it?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
If I could just jump in on that, one of the things we talked about today was really codifying a lot of the decisions that we made and getting it out to people, getting it on the website, sending letters about masks and policies and remote learning and policies and what it is that we're doing. So I know we're getting a lot of questions from a lot of places. We answer a lot of questions. I really appreciate the work of the cabinet and the board. However, we still get many of those questions repeated, and I think it's because we have the FAQ, but we really need a place we can go to and get all that in one place, one resource. So we're working through that.
Any other questions? Rob?
Just some clarification. I know I spoke with Dr. Altieri today about handling, certain things. It seems to be a lot of confusion out in the community by both parents, by both staff, by even some board members. To be honest, I'm confused on certain matters with regards to the plan. Two questions I have. A big one. I asked this question last time. I'd like to just know where we're at with schedules, student schedules, so that the students have the time to review the schedule, be able to maybe map it out within the school so they feel comfortable the first day. Will we have schedules available for the students? Obviously, whether it's a day or two prior to start of school, so they have the ability to do that.
If you don't mind, I do want to talk about reopening in terms of schedules. I want to, some information has gone out to the community that I want to just, I feel like we have more information that we can get out about particular things. Questions about desks, about sanitizer, about filters, about scheduling, about masks and health. And so I did ask the team to jump in and we're going to provide some of those answers. So why don't we start with the scheduling? And Patty, do you mind talking to that?
Sure. So our hope is for elementary to be released by the end of this week, so the students will know, because we do have the kindergarten drop-off on the 8th, where kindergarten students are going to have the opportunity to drop off their materials and kind of wave to their teacher. They're not going to be going in the buildings, but they're going to have an opportunity to meet their teachers, and the rest of elementary we're hoping as well. Right now we are working on the secondary schedules, and the counselors are working extremely hard. And what the problem they're running into is the cohorts didn't split as evenly as we had hoped. If you look at class of 30, you would hope it would be 15-15. It's not. Sometimes it's 25-5. So you're clearing out 10 of the 25. You need to literally go into the classes to see where you can place them and still honor their course requests. So today we met with Sue Buckberg from Information Systems, and we're asking her to work with eSchool tonight into tomorrow morning to try to split it into 2 separate masters. And our plan is to take the AC cohort and have that dumped into only one master, not giving PC the opportunity to go into it, and lower the cap size to 15. So hopefully that'll fill, and it'll allow the students to get their course requests. We'll still have to deal with course conflicts, but if we allow it to go in just smoothly with the AC, we're not going to run into the problem of those classes being overfilled. Right now, when we ran the master, we just split it into 2 to take a look. So the counselors, last time we spoke about counting the dots of the colors, that is split in 2. When we first ran the master, we didn't run it at 15 caps on the A and B days, and that, I think, is where the counselors are running into problems. We don't know if this is going to work, but it's certainly something we're looking into, and hopefully by tomorrow we'll know if it will work or not. It's almost like starting from the beginning, but we do have the master in place. It's just rerunning the algorithm to see if it's going to fall in place as well as we'd like it to.
We have support from e-school theater to work in that.
Yes, Super Works working with eSchool to do that. In addition to the scheduling, we do have 2 retired guidance counselors coming in to help the guidance counselors. And we also have guidance counselors coming in this Friday and working past hours as well in the afternoons to try to get the schedules up and running. Because it is a concern of ours that the students don't have them. It's not unusual for the high school kids that we're making changes, and even the middle school kids up until the last minute. We do usually put a connect ed out asking students to print their schedule that night before, because changes are constantly being made.
Now, with regards to class sizes, speaking of community members, I know that when it was presented originally, we were looking to add 1 teacher per grade level for elementary school, which would be 60 teachers now. I know we kind of used people from within, that were working in other areas, whether it be AIS or reading, whatever the case is, to take on classes to be able to maintain that class size. I'm hearing that in some of the classrooms, and I haven't had a chance to see it, I know that Sarah asked for a board tour, I think, in early September, but that some of the classrooms are very, very close to the board, not giving the teacher the space. Or maybe some desks might be directly in front of a fire exit or emergency exit. What I'd like to see, if possible, is every year, around this time of the year, we would get a list of sections per school to see what the class sizes are. And if there's a class size that, in a situation like that, we would have the ability any time to kind of direct administration to maybe break that section to lower that class size. I'm very hesitant about waiting a longer period of time, because in years past, we've broken sections on Labor Day weekend, and it becomes even more challenging because you can't put the schedule out yet, because you can't assign kids, and if you do assign kids and then you're splitting them up, it creates a bigger problem. So is it possible to have that schedule of sections per grade level per school? So if we see that we have an issue of one of our...
Yeah, Patty, can we put that together and get that out to the board?
Yes, I provided it for Dr. Pelletieri this morning, and we are constantly looking at the numbers because we do have the maximum capacity in each room that is listed next to basically the enrollment per class, and we are keeping a close eye on that. I know we just broke a section yesterday at Chippewa because we did go above what the capacity would be. And anytime we're getting close to that, the principals have been making decisions to move classes into the multi-purpose room and into the library. Those are the only 2 spaces other than the classrooms that we are using. We are not using the cafeterias. We are not using locker rooms or anything like that. Multi-purpose room, and that we're using when we can, because it does have a bathroom. So if we're using any younger grades, the bathroom is in the classroom as well.
Transportation for BOCES that we figured out, CT kids, if we're going to be able to get them up to school and get them to BOCES every day.
Yeah, I mean, we're still waiting for the final breakdown of the schedules after they sort out how the master is going to fall. But based on the fact that we're not having late buses at middle schools nor at high schools, except for the afternoon BOCES kids, I should be able to redirect those routes in order to provide the children that are home on their off day a means of either getting to school or a means of getting home from school in the middle of the day.
So we would have transportation to them to school,
Both ways.
both ways.
And in addition to the BOCES, we just looked at it yesterday. We're able to bring in our carpentry kids students every single day in-house, as well as our computer repair students.
I should know that, maybe it's a chance, but I do have to call a question.
Anyone else?
Can you just clarify what you just said about the carpentry?
So we took a look because we were giving the opportunity to the BOCES students that leave the building to go in every day. We took a look at what we can do in-house, and we're able to manage the students that are in carpentry as well as the computer repair class. And they'll be allowed to come in every day for their classes. When it's not their day, they're going to be transported with the BOCES students. The only in-house CTP class that we weren't able to manage was the cosmetology because the numbers are too high for social distancing.
Other than just now, how do we get that information to those kids? Are we calling them individually and letting them know that they're going to be coming in every day?
Yes, the guidance counselors will be reaching out to them.
If you don't mind, I'm going to jump in and ask John to talk a little bit about desks. I know that was an issue that came out as well, that we're short desks in some places. John, we have an answer?
Sure. Obviously, if many of you have been through kindergarten classrooms or first grade classrooms, normally they don't sit at a desk by themselves. They're at small tables where there's 2 or more children at a table. Obviously, that doesn't lend itself well to social distancing. So several weeks back, we did place an order after surveying the classrooms. We needed about 1,000 desks. Those desks are on order. Originally, the supplier had promised a delivery date of 9/3. We were notified yesterday late that they're not going to be able to make that date. It's probably going to be more like the second week of September. So we do have other resources available for those classrooms. About 1.5 years or so ago, we invested in about 1,000 small portable desks at the secondary level for SETs, PSATs, regions, things of that nature. They're actually folding desks that we set up in the gymnasium. And the great thing about them is they can be set to any height. So they can be set for a secondary age child all the way down for a kindergartner at the 15-inch height. So we're dispatching those desks to the buildings, as well as we do have some other larger secondary desks at some of the middle schools that I think we can repurpose. We'll push those down to like 5th grade, and then we can take the 5th grade desks, which have adjustable legs, and also repurpose those for the lower grades. And then as soon as the other desks come in, we'll swap everything out, and then those classrooms will all actually have all brand new desks.
Thank you, John. And then a little bit about, again, a concern around sanitizer and masks and gloves and things like that, their availability to the buildings.
Yeah, there seemed to be some confusion about that, and I have a list handy that's from our facilities department, but there's also another list held by Mr. Butel where he's amassed necessary materials for our nursing staff. But just for building use, and this is a rather lengthy list, so I'll try to go through it as quickly as possible. We use hospital-grade disinfectant in the buildings. We primarily use Oxivir and Alpha HP. We buy it in concentrated format, on hand in the district, whether it be in buildings and or in the warehouse. I have enough Oxivir for 7,800 gallons of cleaner. Alpha HP, I have 51,200 gallons of cleaner. I have 113 cases of wall-mount hand sanitizing stations. I have 135 cases of hand soap. I have 74,000 pairs of gloves. I have 40 sheets of 4x8 polycarbonate, 70 freestanding desk sneeze shields for like reception desks and things of that nature. We have 50,000 face masks on hand, 440 rolls of tape to delineate markings on floors, 1,000 spray bottles to be dispatched to classrooms with the disinfectant in there because we are having trouble securing the usual wipes that we would prefer to have. That unfortunately are very short supply right now. We have 4,000 face shields that we've amassed for the staff. Those have been dispatched to the building for all staff members. We know that Mr. Butel picked up quite a number of thermometers. We also picked up another 100 of the infrared thermo testers that'll be dispatched to different buildings. We were able to secure 10,000 pint bottles of hand sanitizer. Unfortunately, they were not available in the pump variety, so they are the flip top. So they would be more likely the type of thing that a teacher would have and, go down the line with the children and give it to them either before their meal, after their meal, whatever the case is, to sanitize their hands if they weren't able to get to a hand washing station. We also have floor signage and wall signage that all came in yesterday, which started going to the buildings this afternoon and will continue tomorrow. And on order, we still have quite a number of things. I do have another 40 sheets of the polycarbonate available. Those again are being used as barriers at reception desks and things of that nature. Another 64,500 gloves. Air filtration, obviously, we'll probably be talking about that a little bit later, but while we're on the subject, every univent in the district, and that's the devices that you see in all the classrooms, that's the method of bringing fresh air into a classroom as well as heating the classroom. Historically, those would have only been furnished with a regular paper filter like you have in your home central air conditioning. They only have the 1-inch capacity. The state came out with no particular mandate on what the filtration capacity needed to be. They just wanted us to increase filtration. There were recommendations for other agencies that if you could secure as high as MERV 13 filters to do so. Over the summer, we were able to clean each unit, verify its operation, and fit them all with MERV 8s, which we were able to fit without retrofitting. The MERV 13s we have on order probably about a month out. That will take some retrofitting, and these are being custom made for us. So we'll still need about a month, but the filter will probably be more important in the winter months when we can't have fresh air by having windows open. So we should have that all in place before the winter periods. And just other things. We have sanitizing rolls and buckets, microfiber towels, another 300 cases of Alpha HP, another 300 cases of Oxivir, another 186 cases of hand sanitizer, another 3,000 spray bottles, and another 300 cases of hand soap. So we do have a sufficient amount of material on hand and a very large amount that should be here in short order.
So I just wanted to speak to the point that I know that there is concern amongst the community in terms of desks, in terms of sanitizer, in terms of tape on the floor and decals and things like that. These things are happening. These things are in district. We are moving in that direction. The filters we have already exceed what the state is asking us to do. We're going beyond that. So scheduling is obviously a concern and will continue to be a concern. I remember back in my own building when I was principal, we always schedule up almost until that last minute when a child came in, the ink is still wet on their program. So that happens, and we're going to continue to work through that. We added additional guidance counselors to support the folks that we have in the buildings, our principals and the APs and the guidance counselors. So I just wanted to speak to some of those things. I know there was concern amongst teachers, amongst the community as well. Administrators spoke to me as well. We are moving in a direction, obviously, of opening our schools on time. I know that there's something going out with NICE in many districts where they're talking about delaying, and New York City is talking about that. But I've met with our team, confident that we are on course for our opening. And if that changes in any way, shape, or form, as we assess as we move forward, I'll be sure to be speaking with Alex and speaking with the board. But I am confident that as we press forward, we will be able to and ready to open for our students on the night.
Anyone have any other questions? All right.
It's a little bit more of a statement. Obviously, as the week has gone on and so on, I've been getting emails and texts and questions and so on. And my own personal opinion is, as it was before all the emails and questions and texts, we are Sachem. We pull together whenever we need to. And right now, all I see is a staff that has worked incredibly hard. John has never been one to not put himself into everything he does, and now he's become a vent expert as well. I'm sure that none of us probably could have even understood half of what he has become an expert in, on top of every other hat that he's worn. So I just want to say, having things on hand like 74,000 pairs of gloves or 7,800 gallons of sanitizer, it puts us in a position where I feel very confident sending my own children to school. I put my children in the hands of these people every single school day of every single year, and I'm extremely confident doing so. And I just want to say that I hope that the rest of the community would also be as confident as I am that Sachem is ready. There's going to be bumps. We're not going to say that anything's going to be perfect, but I really do feel like our nurses, I mean, even this week, I'm always the late mom, so yeah, I emailed the nurses my kids' forms, and they were more than capable of emailing me back and saying thanks so much. So I do have to commend every single person. I mean, custodians moving hundreds of desks, nursing staff, figuring all these things out, administrators becoming experts on things they've never been experts before, teachers coming in and getting their classrooms set up, and still making their classrooms look as loving as possible. It is a true Sachem team effort, and I think that the emails that we should be receiving after this should all be commendation for everyone who's working so hard in this district.
Thank you. Rob?
I apologize, just a couple more questions. With the inclusion of sports now, and John, it's a question for you, Dr. Peltieri. We're now going to be offering most of our fall sports at our middle schools and our high schools. In years past, we allowed for late buses to be able to transport those students home from the sports in order to prevent them from crossing very dangerous roads, especially when we start moving the clock back. You know, when kids get out, sometimes the sun starts going down, they're crossing roads in dusk. Two things. A, if possible, I'd like an answer on whether or not we're going to include clubs, okay, along with the sports, because now, we have the ability to. But also, are we going to include buses, those runs at the middle school level to be able to transport those students home, get them home safely?
So I'll jump in real quick. I had that conversation with John just before. So I don't think it's finalized yet. We're very hopeful, right, around sports, but the final, did you get final, no, not yet. Okay, yeah, it wasn't finalized, but we're very hopeful for sports. And my sense would be if sports came back, clubs would come back as well. I think we really need to be able to have both for our students. And I spoke with John already about making sure we have those late bus runs for our students and our athletes. And we're going to have that, John?
Well, we haven't had sports run buses in many years. I mean, those were cut out.
In terms of the late bus.
We have late buses. I don't know if they accommodate sports. Yeah, so we'd have to look at putting those back in.
I'm just out of curiosity, what do they run, John?
I'm sorry?
The cost of the bus run?
Well, runs are 6-hour runs, 7-hour runs, 8-hour runs. You don't get just the tiny windows. You have to.
But we have available runs to be able to transport them.
A 7-hour run is almost $100,000 a year. So we have to look at the schematic, because right now I'm repurposing the schematic for those afternoon runs to accommodate the BOCES kids on their days off. So if sports comes back in the fall, which right now is kind of iffy, even though there's that September date, we'd have to take a look at how we're going to make that happen, because that could come at a cost. Right now, taking care of the BOCES runs would not come at any additional cost.
So just to jump on that question for a second, if there are sports and there are kids that are going A day, B day, and now there are kids that are home, how would we get them? I mean, if we're bringing, are they going to be responsible for
the
the
sheer
summer?
volume of the number of athletes we have, I don't know if that'd be possible.
I think it's important the community at least knows that if there are
I'm not
sports, there
sure.
may not be busing for them to get up every
To
day.
get, I mean, at the end of the day to get to school, I don't know if that would be possible.
Okay.
Yeah, with regards to the co-lab classes, have we done any more research to see if the students that are in that mixture of students in that program, some have IEPs and have special requirements in their IEPs that are provided to them, and some are mainstream students. Has there been any more discussion about possibly looking at those co-lab classes as running them full-time 5 days a week so those students can get the services that they need?
I have to go back and talk with I have not had that conversation with anyone yet today.
So we'll have someone get back to us. And right now, they're running half-time. Yes. Right. ABB day. And then just the last thing, and then I think this is more of a possibly an exec session, but it deals with accommodations. I had a conversation with Terry earlier about somehow some way working with staff that has really suppressed immune systems that can't be in front of students. Right now, we're not completely able to accommodate every one of them, but somebody who maybe is going through chemotherapy and can't be exposed to that. Basically, we want to see what we can do to accommodate those staff so we are protecting them, their welfare, their safety, but also the welfare and safety of the student.
That is an ongoing conversation, and Chris and I have had that along with the team already, and will continue to. Could I ask, forgive me if I'm out of order, Erin, would you be able to talk a little bit about the health forum that we're going to start tomorrow with our teachers, please, so help people understand that?
So we've said, I think, over the past few meetings that we have crafted a health screening form, and we did that under the direction of Dr. Nussbaum, Catherine McKee, our lead nurse, and Mr. Butel and Ms. McEntee. So we have shortened it so that it's not too long for our staff or for our family. And starting tomorrow, all staff members will be asked to fill out that form. And then on the first day of school thereafter, the same thing will go out to each building. And then for our community members, we'll be sending you like a small QR code so that you don't have to look for it each time. You can see it on your phone. A reminder will go out at the district level every morning, a little bit before each start of high school, middle school, elementary school, just to remind you to fill that out that will be siphoned into our nurse's office. And our nurse's office, along with any clerical that the building principal has set up, will vet and go through that information for us daily.
Thank you so much. I just want to reiterate the importance of that to our school community, that we're starting that, teachers back tomorrow, we're starting that up right away. It's really important to us, and that will be a practice that we have each day throughout the year, unfortunately, for the foreseeable future.
Jim?
I'm going to ask the same question as I asked at the last meeting. All the plans we have, none of it will work unless the teachers are on board with it. Now, after this video memo that went out by the SETA president, a lot of questions were raised, and reading it, it didn't seem like the teachers were on board at all with it. So I noticed from listening to you guys just speak about all of the equipment that we have, and I know that was one thing that was stated in that video message, but I'm very concerned. I'm concerned that we do have everything pretty much in line to open up on time, but if the teachers aren't on board, it's not going to work. So my question is, have we talked to them? Have we talked to them after this memo went out by the SETA president?
I spoke with them actually Friday before that video memo went out. I spoke to them again today, and we'll continue to speak with them. And I spoke with the administrators as well, because there are concerns. And each year, when you're opening a building, you're just amazed from when you walk through and you just see everything in the hallways, and the gyms torn apart, and auditoriums. Every year you have those concerns. And so you have those concerns on top of the additional concerns that are obviously there. So we will have that dialogue. I spoke to Phil tonight about 5:15, and we'll continue to have that conversation and that dialogue.
Could I ask if the dialogue is positive, or does it raise more questions?
No, we've gotten off to, I think, a great start, and it is positive.
Okay.
There are obviously concerns, and as I said to this board, and I said to him, we will look closely at this with trained eyes, and if we feel at any point that this is not safe for our students or not safe for our staff, we will have to come to this group and have a serious conversation.
But as of right now.
As of right now, I feel that we are, and the team feels that we are on target for opening on the 9th.
Eric?
So in regards to the health forum, just for clarification for parents, we have the Jewish holidays that come up early on in the school year, and everybody gets a few days off here and there. If you are going to drive or fly out of state to some state that is not on the approved list, what happens? Your child is supposed to not come to school after you return? Just so everybody's clear.
Well, I think this answer really not only applies to students, but it also applies to staff, so we really need to take it from that lens. We need to comply with our quarantines. So if someone is traveling to an area that they are not an approved area, we need them to follow the quarantine protocols because it's for the safety of our students and our staff to make sure that everybody then complies and responds to the reminds or to the daily health survey to make sure that we don't have anyone not in compliance. And then we will need to address that staff or student should there become an issue with someone indicating they've been in a quarantine area that they shouldn't have, or an area they shouldn't have been in and need to quarantine.
And if it were a staff member that were to travel, we have the accommodations for when they get back to cover everything for those 2 weeks and all that.
Well, we are dealing with those things as we speak. This isn't just a moment for September 1st or September 2nd or October. This is what we're living and breathing and managing, as we talked about, special education SESI staff or anything that's going on in the building. And we are, going over things in fine detail, requesting documentation, making sure we're following the protocols and dealing with them under state and federal regulations, and the CDC and the Department of Health. So we're working on it.
Any other questions from the board? Thank you. On the top of page 2, we're at the visitor section. Mrs. Watt? Yeah, we'll just wipe it after we're done.
Thank you. I would first ask that Ms. Lanois stop doodling on her pad and give me her attention. Thank you. You've been doing it the whole time. I wonder if you've been hearing anything that's been going on. Okay, so my twin boys attend Merrimack. They are in 4th grade. I've spent many years teaching in Sachem, all around. I just lost my job at Abigail Bottoms. I'm teaching again this fall. I will be wearing a mask. I have no problem with that at all. I find that it's a sense of responsibility and respect for others. I feel that this board meeting is a big rush because of what the SCTA did yesterday. The president said, we took a stand that masks need to be required all day by students and staff to ensure our safety, and the district agreed. So you agreed without asking the parents to make our kids wear masks during instruction. I've watched several of you fiddle with your masks the entire time before this even started. Sachem's SCTA should not be making decisions that affect our children's health. Jack Nussbaum, this is the Sachem's doctor. Are we trusting somebody with a 3.3 rating on WebMD in a malpractice suit from 2016? How dare you make this decision without discussing it with parents first? A lot of these kids are dealing with emotional and mental health issues, and you're going to make them wear a mask during instruction? When they're 6 feet apart, their teacher's in the front of the classroom? Sachem also agreed because you need to limit liability. So it's about money. You don't want Sachem to get sued, sir? My son gets a respiratory problem from wearing a mask all day, then we can talk liability. It wasn't right that this just came up and that you're catering to the SCTA and their demands. You can't force our kids to wear face masks all day long during instruction. It's ridiculous. If you have all the filters you need, they shouldn't be wearing masks during instruction. I've worked with kindergartners. It's impossible. It's impossible for all the kids. Why was this done without the parents' knowledge? You've been talking to the SCTA, it's positive, it is. The video last night didn't seem positive. We're catering to the union for what? They're getting what they need. Our kids are being crammed into buses, shoulder to shoulder, as they always have. But they have to wear a mask while they're sitting at their desk trying to learn. These kids haven't been in school for months. We have to give them the best chance to be able to concentrate in school. Masks during instruction, without even discussing it first with the parents, you changed it. That's not right. That's a big deal all day long. There are positives and negative reports on wearing masks all day. You hear everything. I'm not willing to take that risk with my children.
Ms. Luck, there's a 3-minute time limit. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mrs. Floyd Ventura?
I had no intentions of asking any questions, but one of the questions is for the health form, because we do the same thing in my place of employment. Does it automatically give a response? Like if I answer, I traveled out of the state or something, they'll say, you're not permitted. Will that have an automatic response?
I think we can answer that.
Okay.
On the survey.
If we don't know, we can always get back to you.
On the top of the survey, it shows very clearly that if you answer yes to any of these questions, the steps you have to take, and one would be you are not permitted in school. And that would be for both our staff and our students, and also in terms of any documentation so that you can return.
Great, thanks, thank you. My second concern is just an advocacy because it's very dear to my heart, and I've been paying attention. So this is not something to address you, and probably people would say it doesn't matter with what we're talking about now, but I'm a very big advocate for substance abuse and mental health. I've been in the field for substance abuse for 20 years. I also have 30 years in recovery. My child goes to Sachem. And I am an advocate. I work in the field, and I travel every day to Queens. And it was school that saved my life, my teachers. So I'm asking, because I've been watching the kids in my community have so much time from the moment that they met on Zoom, they've not been in classes, and they've been in the streets. I've been seeing kids, my son is 13 years old, and I pay, because of school now, worried that there's not going to be sports. I pay money, and I'm the only sole provider to keep him off the streets and stay positive. But I've watched his friends, 13 years old, get arrested for something. I've watched his friends vaping and getting addicted to vaping. I've watched his friends now get involved that he no longer associates with in substances. There's death with COVID. There's family members that we all know that lost their family members. So coming back to school, I don't want the lost souls that have had a lot of free time now. I'd like to know, and I know you can't answer this, but please, are we paying attention to these kids that are coming back to the classes? They need more support than ever. And I just wanted us to really keep that up in the forefront and focus, because take it from a person that became addicted in the 3rd grade, and now I work my whole life to help children and family members, stay safe off of this, that the school does pay attention to this. It's really important, especially now. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bonaventura. We're in the middle of page 2, personnel, consent agenda A through J. Can I please have a motion? Motion by Meredith, second by Laura. Any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried.
So
We'd just like to recognize a few folks. We've been staffing feverishly in the personnel office in conjunction with the administrators in the district. We had a new teacher orientation today that Ms. Hines had coordinated for us, where we had 60 or so new hires. And on tonight's agenda, we also had teacher assistants, hall monitors, lunch monitors, office assistants, aides. We have run the gamut for staffing. We're still staffing. We have had a nice variety of staff come through, many of which are state grads, and we want to welcome them to full roles here, and we look forward to seeing great things.
All right, number 4. Number 4, personnel support staff, consent agenda A through E. Can I please have a motion? Motion by Bill, seconded by Matthew. Any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Making sure. Number 5, personnel. Letter A is interim appointment of administrative personnel for the 2020-2021 school year. Ms. Laura Amato, can I please have a motion? Motion by Meredith, second by Laura. Any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Yes, I'm sorry, Meredith, please.
Can you just make clear what that is? I've gotten quite a few questions about it.
Yes, Ms. Bigley.
Sure. Laura Amato has just been approved by the Board of Education to serve in an interim role for the Hiawatha principal, which is a K-8 elementary tenure area. Mr. Watson, who is on the agenda this evening, is awaiting a few things with his own current appointment as far as a start date upon approval from the board. So we have made sure for belt and suspenders that we have a principal ready to roll tomorrow morning. That principal is Laura Amato. She retired in June of 2020. She has had almost 2 months of retirement, and she's joining our Hiawatha staff tomorrow, first thing, and she has a tremendous amount of experience. She will fill the role of the interim until such time as we have our full-time appointment of the principal.
All in favor? Opposed? Motion. Mr. Joe Watson. Can I please have a motion by Rob, second by Jimmy? Any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried.
So Joseph Watson is in our audience today. We'd like to welcome you to the Sachem family. So Joe's currently an assistant principal in Bellport Middle School, which is in the South Country School District. In speaking to the folks who work with him and have supervised him and he's supervised, we have found that he has had a great rapport with staff and has been able to troubleshoot and collaborate on some very challenging situations, and we look forward to that as he joins our Sachem team. One of the things that we felt was very important in our next Hiawatha principalship was the ability for us to choose someone that really is going to find Hiawatha as their home, and we feel that this is a great fit for not only Mr. Watson to hang his hat, but for the Hiawatha community and students and families to have him here as a steadfast leader in the building. In addition to his South Country work as an administrator, he also was in the Sewanee School District as an instructional teacher. He has a vast experience in the public school system and coaching, and he's an avid coach within the youth leagues within his community and among the youngsters where he and his family live. So welcome to you, Joe. We really appreciate you being a part of us this evening, and we look forward to your start date. But we know you've already started to get things moving and seeing all the things you need to learn about what you need to do. Thanks.
Thank you. And just for transparency, I know that posting these jobs so that anybody can apply for in and out, making it through the rigorous process that we have, the gauntlet of interviews that you did, and the list of candidates that came forward is no easy task. So we know that we got the right person, and we're happy to have you join us. Thank you so much. Thank you. Number 6 on Committee on Special Education. Can I please have a motion? Motion by Meredith, seconded by Bill. Any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. I don't believe there is anybody for comment. The next regular meeting of the Board of Education will be on September 16th at 7:30. Need a motion to adjourn. Motion by Meredith, second by Rob. All in favor? Good night, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you.